Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you can see me, I hope you can hear me. I hope you didn't just get a bit wobbly from the little change of camera there. For some reason, oh, I see why. That's better. How are you? How are you this morning? Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to this week's Monday Motivation. I have lost count of which number episode this is in total because Monday Motivations actually started coming up for 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago here on Facebook Lives. But Monday Motivations, let me tell you how they started. To me, Mondays always used to get a bad rap. And when I worked, before I started my business in 2010, when I worked in the corporate space, from about 2008, I realised that people could do with a bit of a pep up on a Monday morning. They could do with a bit of a lift and a bit of a zoom and a boost into their week. So Monday Motivations actually started as emails that went out to various people in the office just to let them know that yes, it's Monday, yes, it was the start of their week, but yes, they could also achieve the things that they wanted to do instead of the bad rap that Mondays often got and the kind of feeling of dread. Now I share that with you because this shows two things. This shows sometimes how we think about things can create how they actually come about, but it also shows that there are evolutions in our lives. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, they often say, and it means that you can do something in your life starting from wherever you are. And I believe this is true of motivations too. So if you want to say hello, by all means do comment below and say hi, but if you're happy watching in the background, I'm really happy for you to watch too. And the other thing that I would ask you is, if you know of other people that could do with a little boost to their Monday, their morning, their day, even their week, then please do share this with them, because you never know what people are going through on the inside or behind the scenes. So this Monday, the theme is It's in Your Eyes. And this Monday Motivation would not be a Monday Motivation if it didn't talk about the big news of London from yesterday, the London Marathon. Hey, hi Dale. Dale saying hello. I love your commitment that you've just even said that. I don't mind that you're going for a doggy walk, so I know that it feeds your soul. So love to you, love to your doggies, Dale. Dale's watching all the way from Spain. She's an awesome writing coach, by the way. If you're into writing a fiction book, she's the one to help you. I digress. So I just wanted to say shout out. So I honour you for coming in saying hi, just even for a few minutes. So yesterday was the London Marathon here in London. And as usual, there are thousands of people from all over the world that run the marathon. And I always find Marathon Weekend inspiring. Now, there are a lot of Londoners that don't like the extra people, the extra traffic, and they might travel out of London, at London for the London Marathon. But I love it. I love the camaraderie. I love the spirit of we can get this done. Hey, Alan, good to see you. Alan saying hi to you as well, Dale. And, I love the camaraderie and the sheer grit and determination. Now, yesterday was apparently the hottest marathon on record. It was, I think they said it was half a degree hotter than the previous one in 2007. But you know what? I was merely a spectator. I was merely a bystander. And man, it was hot. I really felt for those marathon runners. So I want to give a shout out to Michelle Graham. And I will, in the comments below after this, actually post a link for her sponsorship. Michelle Graham not only ran the marathon, finished the marathon, and you know what else was amazing about what she did? Michelle is an amateur runner. She's not a professional runner or anything else like that, but she did it for her darling daughter, and her story is in the link. I went to the starting line. You imagine trying to look for one person amongst thousands and thousands of people, and I even had the app on my phone and realised that she had already gone by. So I went to the next kind of the 5 mile part, and I'd already missed her. By the time I on foot had taken a shortcut through the gorgeous Greenwich Park, which looked completely different with all the banners and balloons, I'd actually missed her. So I decided to stake myself in Canada Water, which is just near Canary Wharf in London. And I decided that I was not moving until I'd seen her. In the same time I was putting out little videos on Facebook. I was asking members of family and friends, like, what's she wearing? What am I looking out for? Because I'm just looking for a face, And eventually I saw her. And what was really funny was she was so in the zone. She was running, and I saw her run by, and I shouted, Michelle, Michelle. And she was running, so there's me running behind the barriers along in my flip-flops and my bag, Michelle, Michelle. And then eventually she turns around, she gasps, Jenny. And I shouted, do you need anything? And she said, I just need a hug. So we had a hug. I actually think that Michelle's hug did more for me than it did for her. It brings tears to my eyes because you saw so many people. I saw people running for cancer charities, for people that had passed. It just so motivates me, so inspires me. And for those of you that watch any of my Facebook lives, know that my eyes sometimes leak when I talk about things like this. The inspiration that people have, there could be thousands of people on the streets cheering and holding banners, but there's something when you run a marathon, and your marathon or your metaphor for the marathon might be that you're going through something. You might be living with pain. You might be, feeling boxed in your own life. Maybe you feel like you're made for bigger things and you just can't break out of the box to do it. Maybe you are in a work situation and you know you're made for better things, bigger things, greater things, but you can't seem to find a way to bust out and demonstrate that to people. Maybe you're one of my lovely visibility vibers who want to be more seen, more heard and more visible, and you just can't seem to find a way to do that. I want you to know, especially as a reminder after seeing what happened yesterday, if you have that desire in your heart, that thought in your system, that goal in your plan, you can absolutely do it. What you need is not my motivation, but your motivation. So this is the topic of this week's Monday Motivation. It's in your eyes. And what on earth do I mean? It occurred to me as I typed that, because I normally plan these, a few weeks in advance. It occurred to me though, as I typed "It's in your eyes," it's actually the lyric, or the line at least, from a Kylie Minogue song. I don't know if that's the actual title. Oh my gosh, we've got Bill watching from New Zealand. Good morning to you. Well, actually, it's not good morning to you, Bill. It's good morning to me and good afternoon. Bill is in our future. He is Monday afternoon. He can tell us what's happened and tell us what's happened in our future. Oh, hello. Thank you so much for joining. So here's the thing. Here's how you use the "It's in your eyes" weird title. Here's how this actually ties into Monday Motivation. And actually, for what I saw yesterday firsthand again of people running the London Marathon. Now, what's interesting is, and I won't give you the boring backstory, I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty version of this, because this will be really, really beneficial and helpful and useful to you. And some of you might need a pen just to jot some stuff down. You might not. But don't worry, if you haven't got a pen and paper handy, just save this video and come back to it. Come back to it and watch this piece again. So basically, when we as humans do things, I alluded at the beginning of this that what we think can sometimes bring it into reality. So there were people that were running the marathon. Yes, we know it's a marathon. It is a test of endurance. No one can sugarcoat it and say, well, it's easy to run. It's a long distance. It's 26.2 miles. Now, yesterday for the marathon runners, it was also in the heat. Okay, and a lot of people, if you think about this, especially in the UK, 8 weeks ago, and I know this because I've been running a mile every now and then, which is nothing compared to the 26 miles, but we were running in cold weather, in snow. I was wearing a hat and, layers to run in and still not feeling hot. I remember coming back from just a 1 mile run, and although my body temperature had risen, my fingers were frozen. So a lot of the people in the UK have been training in these kinds of conditions, only to find on marathon day, the sun's out, it's scorching. I watched one of Michelle's Facebook Lives that she did, and she talked about how the tarmac was hot. You don't think about this, how running on hot tarmac affects how your feet feel, how your knees feel, the impact that it then takes to your hips and your waist, So there are all these different things to consider, but there's one thing that I could virtually see it from right at the start, and I literally was at the starting line. I probably saw everybody go through, from the first bikes and the TV cameras to come through to the last car to say, the route is now closed. If you're going to continue to run, you need to run on the road, marathon runners, There was one thing that I noticed. It really is in their eyes. People will say it's in their head and it's in their brain, and I get the mindset piece. But in order for us to think, in order for us to do, in order for us to be the things that we want to do, be and think, there's a very quick succession of things that happen. So we might think, yes, air quotes, think of an idea, think of something we want to do. And let's take the marathon as an example. The moment we think, I want to run the marathon, all sorts of things happen very quickly, all sorts of different things come into play. Now, this is going to sound bizarre, but this is completely true. And there's no right or wrong order. It could be what you see, what you hear, how you feel, in no particular order. And various elements of that will be sparked off by the words going on in your head. So, I said to myself, I would love to run the marathon before I'm 50. I've got 4 years to do it. So if I would love to run the marathon before that point, then I need to think about like what I'm going to do. I don't need to necessarily think about the how, but here's what's interesting and real. The moment I thought I would like to run the marathon, my reason came in, internal dialogue, because it's not something that I could do at this moment in time, and it would be a challenge. Now, how does that show up in my eyes? What has that got to do with my eyes? You may have noticed even as I said that, my eyes flicked up. And there are some things in human psychology that happen. This is not kind of Paul McKenna magic or any kind of tricks or anything else like that. This is something that happens. So you could be seeing something, you could be hearing something, you could be feeling something, you could be thinking something. Now, for most of us, because we don't know which order it comes in, because we're so used to just doing it, like if I asked you, think about your favourite colour, what happens in quick succession, you would say, some of you would say, well, I know what my favourite colour is. Some of you would say, oh gosh, I can see it now. Some of you would be like, oh, it makes me feel quite nice to think of my favourite colour. There is no right or wrong. We all string ourselves together differently. But things happen in very quick successions, and today I'm going to speak about the eyes. So, if you're a thinker and you've just told yourself you want to run the London Marathon, for a split second there will be an image that flashes up in your mind so quickly that you likely haven't seen it. And by the way, for any of you in my audience who may have lost your sight, if you have ever seen in your life, you will still get that picture. If you were born without sight, you won't get that picture. That's the only difference. And I once shocked a man at a conference. I was sat next to a lovely man called Ray, who was blind, and the speaker said something, and he turned and said something to me in his language, and I said to him, from what you've just said, I can tell at some point you could see. When did you lose your sight? And he was like, how did you know that? How could you tell that? That's another story for another time. But the point here is, for most of us, if the first thing we do is go to a visual place and we see something, our eyes will do one of a couple of things. Our eyes will appear to have a vacant stare. Could be a thinking face, like a... I hope that doesn't freak you out. You know, Facebook's going to keep that as a thumbnail, you know? So you might have a vacant stare. If you've done it before and you're recalling the memory, you might even have your eyes going up, because it's in your eyes. And what your eyes are physically trying to do, unbeknown to you, is they're trying to look for the information. How cool is that? Now, when I told myself that I wanted to run a marathon because I'd never done it before, I think the next first step was, it's going to be so hard. But what I actually did was, I actually, with my eyes, started to create how difficult it could be. And for that particular moment, I thought, well, there's no harm in being honest about how difficult it is, because then I know how hard I need to train, then I know how much I need to train, then I know that I need to think about food and energy and everything else like that. But actually, what I was inadvertently doing was creating a pattern, probably a long lost distant pattern that is happy to repeat itself again, and actually constructing how hard I needed it to be. And yesterday, at the start of the marathon, you could see people that were lapping it up. You know, literally, they hadn't even run a quarter of a mile yet. It was hot. So they're running, and they're, you know, some of them were waving at the crowds. It was interesting how many people were smiling, but whether they were smiling or not, their eyes were very different. there was a couple of people I saw who already limped. I don't know whether they pulled something right at the start or had a previous injury. They were already limping and they were looking in different ways. And I'm going to talk to you about the different ways very briefly so that you can use those to motivate yourself this week. Okay, so when I saw some of those marathon runners and they're looking forward, they're almost in this stare, they're in the zone, maybe they're listening to their headphones, maybe they're listening to the crowd. Some of them had their names and you call their names and they were still like this, straight ahead. It's likely that they were visualising their finish. They were visualising their current pace. You know what? This is comfortable, I'm going to keep going. They were focused and they were in the zone. So there was their vacant stare. And depending on each individual and how they construct everything, that vacant stare was possibly the thing that helped them to keep going, helped them to focus, gave them hope. I like to think of hope as an acronym for, what do I think of it as? Having only positive expectations. So hope, having only positive expectations. So those people, in their eyes, they were staring, they were going, they were in the zone. And you know what? In terms of practicing, even if I was like pounding my feet, I'm not actually running, but because I'm doing this and because I'm in the zone, my body now thinks that I'm running. I am reinforcing a positive expectation to my body that I am now running the marathon. Now, by the way, if you are training for a marathon, I'm no professional at this. The lovely Kate Hayden I would highly recommend, who is one of the Visibility Vibers. She runs like ultra marathons and does crazy things, 24 hours, you know, she's running, she has 3 hours sleep in a tent and then carries on. She does all that kind of ultra stuff. But she's really great with that. This is not a way solely to train for a marathon. You might use it as part of your strategy, but it's not a way to train. How you can use it this week to motivate you, if you have hope of having only positive expectations of something, see it in your mind's eye in its positive way. Even if everything about you is telling you it's going to be hard, it's difficult, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the friends, I don't have the support. Come out of that, because all of those are what I like to call silent affirmations. Don't have the money, don't have the time, don't have the friends, I can't do it, will only reinforce more of the same, because your brain will not know that it's not really happening. So you'll be reinforcing a nice commitment to your brain that something isn't going to happen. So we don't want that. So if what you need is a bit of hope, having only positive expectations for your week, to run through your week, glide through your week for whatever you have coming up, then use your eyes to almost look for the thing happening, having happened and gone past the finishing line, and having happened in a surprising and successful way. Okay, now the second thing with the eyes, and we say this in our words, if you think about it, how many of you have ever used the expression things are looking up? If you've heard that expression or even used that expression before, give me a thumbs up, give me a love heart. Even if you're watching on the replay, give me a thumbs up or give me a love heart if you've ever used the expression or heard the expression things are looking up. Because guess what? When your eyes are looking up, your eyes are looking to create and looking forward. You're looking to create something that you want to bring into fruition. So we say it in our language. Now, the other thing that I saw a lot of, especially when we got to around, I think it was around the 18, 19 mile marker point, and I went to a few different places around, you'd see people walking. Now, some people would be walking with this kind of determination. Some people would be stretching out, focusing for their next piece. Some people would be walking, but they would be looking down like this. Now, there's the expression here, down right, normally with a descriptive word afterwards that isn't, you know, the most encouraging. It was downright awful. It was downright whatever the word is. So these people were walking and looking down. And it was interesting to note the people that were walking and looking up, people that were walking and looking down, down right. And what this does, and it's purely in our eyes, this is not something that we do because our eyes go there to be able to access these emotions, by the way. So it's actually the other way around, not the way around that you might have previously thought. So these people were accessing some sort of emotions. Now, there's a lot of psychology behind this, and depending on whether you're left-handed, right-handed, or however you're wired. But one of the reasons why people will look down to the right is because they're accessing very deep emotions. And these emotions don't have to be negative emotions. They could be positive emotions. Like, think of your first kiss. Think of the first time you fell in love. It's likely that in order to be able to remember it, have you noticed my eyes might flick up because I might need to see the person or the thing, and then they will go down for me, down to my right. And I know that Facebook plays with the camera and how you're seeing me. And this allows me to access the juicy emotions of that. But for some of those marathon runners that were walking and looking down, it's also allowing them to access the emotion of how they're feeling. And that emotion in that time might be, this is too difficult, this is too hard. Another thing that we do with our eyes is look down to the opposite side of wherever our emotions are. That's when we have the internal dialogue. And for me, you know, not only as a visibility specialist and a life coach, but as a kind of neuro-linguistic programmer, it's like you can almost hear the conversation. Man, I can't do this, it's too hard, it's too thirsty. And this was confirmed for those people that were either walking past or running past, that would see members of their friends or family come over, and one of the first things, like, they were either smiling. There was a lady that came over, she was smiling and she just wanted to see her kids, and she was like, how are they doing? And she gave them hugs, and somebody gave her a slice of melon, and she said, it's hot, but you know, I'm going for it. And she said, you know, I'll meet you at the next point, and off she went. And then another guy that came over and stopped, again looking down, obviously accessing his emotions, but was like, oh man, this is difficult. This is so difficult. Everything's aching. Oh, I feel like I just want to stop. That would break my heart. You know, they've trained and they've wanted to do this for so long. Even if they walked to the finishing line, you know, I think yesterday wasn't necessarily a day for personal bests for a lot of people. It was so hot, you know, apart from Mo Farah, obviously. So for these people, they were looking down, and they were either having conversations with themselves about how difficult it was, or they were feeling downright awful. Let's face it, you know, there's, like I said with Michelle, there's an impact on the feet, on the knees, on the hips, on the stomach, on the waist, on the back, on the shoulders. So how can you use some of this stuff in your eyes? Now, I want you to think about something that you want to do this week. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be what you deem to be a small thing. Something that you need to do either for yourself personally or professionally at work that you have previously had a little bit of an issue or a challenge with. And I'd love you to use some of these techniques. So you don't need to tell me in the box below what that is, but if you could just say, yep, I've got it. And again, if you're watching on the replay, I'd love you to share this too. So, you know, say, yep, I've got the thing. That's all you have to type. I've got the thing, or give me a love heart, a thumbs up or a love heart, so that I know that you've got it. And I would love to ask you this. With that thing that you perceive as a challenge, I want you to do something really odd. I want you to think about the thing you perceive as a challenge, and as you're thinking about it, look upwards. You don't need to raise your head back, but look skywards. Imagine that you're looking either at the ceiling or higher. And what will happen is something strange. Every time you have this challenge, it could be something something that has just been challenging you for a while, or something that's a newer challenge. Every time you have this challenge, you'll find your eyes wanting to draw down. Keep drawing them up, not just ahead of you, not just up a little bit, but ceiling high and above, towards the sky. Virginia Satir, who was a really great early family therapist, used to talk about counting rooftops. So like if you're walking down the street and there are rooftops or you know, tops of buildings, keep your eyes at that place. Obviously, if you're walking down the street, do watch where you're going. You know, I'm going to be in the Strand later on meeting a client, and I really don't want to get hit by a bus because I'm so busy looking up. But think about the thing that's challenging you. And as you are thinking about the thing that's challenging you, your eyes will naturally go down. And this is going to be the hardest thing to do, remembering to do this. Bring your eyes in front of you, to ceiling height and above, and keep thinking of the thing. Your eyes will feel drawn to going down, and if that happens, that's okay. Just put them back up again. If they go down, put them back up again. Now, I'd love to know how you get on with this. I'd love to know how you use this. So if you would like to share with us what you're going to use this for in a more private space, do hit the button at the top and ask to join the Visibility Vibes Tribe Facebook group if you haven't already. I'm just waving off to Dale there. So do ask to join the Visibility Vibes Tribe group, where you can share all sorts of things openly. And by the way, if you are having a challenge, do share it in there. If you just come through a challenge, do share what was different in there. And if you are just kind of wide where you're not having any challenges at all, do share that stuff in there, because we love to celebrate you in there too. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know like how you're going to use this, and if you could type in the comments below and tell me what did you get from this, even if it's just one small thing. What did you get from watching this? What will you do differently from watching this? What will you do as a result of watching this? I'd love to know. Yes, I'm nosy by nature, but I do this because I really want you to be motivated and feel motivated for your Monday, your morning and your week. So until next Monday, thank you so much for joining me. I know that for some of you in different time zones it's late at night, and some of you it's like the Monday evening, as I've said. Some of you it's still early in the morning, you've got things to do. I'd love to hear what you do with these techniques, and don't keep me secret. Please share this with somebody else who might need it. You never know, they might even be planning to run the marathon next year, who knows. And Michelle's story will be one of absolute inspiration. Lots of love to you. Thank you so much for watching, and Dale, enjoy your walk and your doggies. Bye for now.